What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Texan Collection Odyssey. We are here for the April collection update. So I've got a pretty small pick, I guess you could say, of stuff, but it's good quality, as always. So let's get into it. All right, first, starting out with some Blu-rays, I have Secondhand Lions. It's got Michael Caine, Robert Duvall, and Haley Joel Osment. Highly recommend this if you haven't ever seen it. It's kind of a kid's family movie. But it's really one of my favorites. It's set, in Texas, and it cuts back and forth basically between this kid who moves in with his uncles, and he starts hearing stories from them about, how they spend a lot of time in Africa as, safari guides or, searching for treasure and things like that. But at the same time, he's being, whispered stuff of how, they were bank robbers and they stole this money. So it comes down to, what are you going to believe, the fantasy or the reality, and where do those lines, blur. But it's a really cool movie, very quotable, which I like. And yeah, highly recommend it. I think we only ever had it on VHS, actually, so this is definitely 2 jumps up for me. The Last Action Hero. This is actually a pretty good Schwarzenegger movie. It bombed back in the day, I think. But since then, it's kind of gained a cult following. It's still not, great, but you definitely get the idea of what they were going for, and it's really good. I didn't know that this recently was released by, I think, one of the boutique labels, and actually has a lot better transfer than what's on this, but this will be fine right now, and I'll be able to, trade it in if I ever want to do that. Role models. Sean William Scott and Paul Rudd. This is actually one of my favorite R-rated comedies. And I think it's also the first time LARPing, live-action role-playing, with him, with his foam sword here, was ever shown in a movie. So it's significant for that. But it's really funny. And it's actually got some sweet moments, too. That's always nice to have a balance of that in, those R-rated comedies. Looney Tunes back in action. Okay. Basically the Looney Tunes with Brendan Fraser as the action hero. I love this movie. Apparently it got kind of panned by critics back in the day. Apparently nobody really liked it. I think I even went and saw it in the theaters, though. It came out, I think, in 2005 or something. 2003. And I loved it, and I still love it. I would say that this is a better movie overall than Space Jam. Now, I know that's blasphemy to some people, but movie-wise, taking away nostalgia, I think this is better, and I think it's more to the Looney Tunes spirit. Does that make sense? It really is like watching the Looney Tunes being put into real life and what would occur, And I love Brendan Fraser, too, so... And there's a scene where he's Brendan Fraser's stuntman in the movie, and there's a part where he punches the real Brendan Fraser, an exaggerated, jerk version of himself. So that was kind of cool to see him doing that at the height of his fame. And Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. You can't go wrong. All right. True Lies, another Schwarzenegger. Now, this movie is probably one of the best action movies ever made. It's actually a James Cameron movie, and that's the reason why this is not a Blu-ray. There's not a Blu-ray of True Lies, surprisingly enough. That's because James Cameron likes to oversee all of the transfers of his movies. He's done that with Titanic when it came out on Blu-ray, and he did it in 3D. However, he's preoccupied making apparently Avatar 5 or something like that. He's making all these sequels for the Avatar movie from 2008. And personally... I enjoyed Avatar when I first saw it, but it's not a movie that I ever would expected to see, or personally would really want to see a sequel to. But we'll see. But whether or not those movies are good doesn't matter. James Cameron is taking his time with them, and this is kind of sitting on the shelf, unfortunately. But I'm okay with this DVD right now. The DVD is actually a really good quality version. All right. SNL, The Best of Mike Myers. I'm a big Mike Myers guy. I like a lot of the SNL skits he did, Wayne's World especially, and this has some good stuff on there like that. Of course, these mixes aren't ever really, that full, of stuff, like quantity-wise, but what's on there is pretty good and really funny. All right, Mystery Science Theater 3000. This is Volume 5 of the Rhino editions, but it's the same whether it's Rhino or Shout. But this has 4 movies on it. Let's see what they are. This is the reason I bought it, because of Boggy Creek 2 and The Legend Continues. So the original Boggy Creek was a Bigfoot movie set in the Boggy Creek area of Arkansas, where a lot of the Bigfoot culture exists. There's like a museum there and like a place you can go take a tour. But the sequel is really, really bad. It's not good. Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders, Time Chasers, and The Touch of Satan. So yeah, I've recently become a big MST3K fan, starting with the Revival show on Netflix, and then I've kind of been seeking around, and this is I think the first one I've bought of the the older show compilations. So glad to get this, and glad to start watching these, because the movies on there, they're ones that I would never really watch otherwise, but as a movie fan, I like to watch them. So having it with the format, and then having it with the the jokes and the quips, the whole atmosphere around MST3K, it allows for a really enjoyable experience to see movies that you would probably never otherwise watch. All right, so this is a paperback book I bought at a garage sale. The stories in it are probably pretty interesting, but I bought it just because the cover looked cool, and I remember I had seen it. This was used as an inspiration. The same artist did it for Queen's News of the World album. It has the robot holding the band members instead of a guy like it is on here. But this was originally on, I think, a 1950s cover for Astounding magazine, and that's what these short stories are. This is also the album that Stewie was afraid of on Family Guy. All right, CDs. I've got 2 here. This is the Tarzan soundtrack. I really like Tarzan. Some people say it's near the end of the Disney Renaissance, but I personally really like it. And obviously, as y'all know, I really like the later, Disney movies, Atlantis, Treasure Planet, stuff like that. But this has all those good Phil Collins songs. Do y'all remember those? Two Worlds, You'll Be in My Heart, Son of Man, Trash in the Camp. It's got really, really good stuff. This is definitely a good Disney soundtrack to have. And Matchbox 20, Yourself or Someone Like You. I love Matchbox 20. I love their sound, but more than that, I just love Rob Thomas's songwriting. 3 AM is really one of my favorite songs, and of course this also has Real World and Push, and a lot of the songs on here I haven't ever heard before, but listening to them recently, I really liked most of them. Alright, now I have 3 records, and I got these on Record Store Day. So you can see here a little bit, went to a place, it wasn't really near me, but it was kind of the closest place that was an official record shop that was having a sale. And I talked to the owner, had a really good time. So this is Signs of Life by the Lost Gonzo Band. So who are the Lost Gonzo Band? Well, essentially, I think they were Jerry Jeff Walker's backing band. They're part of the Cosmic Cowboy, 70s country music in Austin scene. And this was, I think, the first outing of Gary P. Nunn as, the lead singer, songwriter of a group. He would later kind of just go solo under his name, Gary P. Nunn. But I think this was one of the first albums where he kind of took the reins himself. And I listened to all the songs on here, and it's actually a really good album. And you can see them here on the beach. That's Gary P. right there. And yeah, this is just a cool find. I'd never heard of this specifically before, but I was able to kind of know the era and knew that it was something that I would probably enjoy. And I did. Alright, this is Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy. So I think this is my favorite Led Zeppelin album. It includes my favorite song, which is Over the Hills and Far Away. But definitely glad to get this. I got it on a deal because it was Record Store Day. So it was a good excuse to get it. And I really want to get most of Led Zeppelin's stuff on vinyl because I've become, over time, to be a bigger and bigger fan of their stuff. And obviously they're some of the pioneers of album-oriented rock, right? Where they would create an album that was meant to be listened to in its entirety. So that's a great excuse to get the LPs for them. All right, and lastly, this is Al Dexter sings his greatest hits, including Pistol Packin' Mama. Okay, so what is this, right? So the song Pistol Packin' Mama was a kind of a swing country song from the 1940s. And it actually became the best-selling song of World War II, from what I understand. And it played a big role in spreading country music to urban areas and other places besides just, typical country listeners. It spread country music to a wider audience across America. And this guy, Al Dexter, is actually from East Texas. So that just makes it cooler. And this is a recorded later, probably in the 60s. The original song was in the 40s. But these aren't bad re-recordings at all. They're actually pretty good as far as re-recordings go. So just a cool thing to get on the LP format. But I will be on the lookout for Pistol Packin' Mama as a 78, because that would be cool, even if it ends up, just hanging on a wall. It'll be special to me because of the East Texas connection. All right, well, pretty small amount of stuff, but that was my April haul. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and liking and stuff. Please leave a comment down below if you saw something that you were interested in and we have a mutual interest, or if there's something else you think I might be interested in based on the stuff you saw today, or talk about collecting media and stuff in general. All right, thank you guys for watching, and as always, happy collecting.